supply chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thoughts on Coffee, usually with Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, but she's off this week. So I'm hosting for you. My name is Audrey Ross. I am here in Sarah's studio in Tampa. So I'm tuning in from Tampa, and please feel free to share where you are joining us from. We've got a great show today. We've got Eric Johnson coming up in a few minutes to talk about a few of our articles and news, hot things in the news. I'll kick off by talking about the episode of the week. So we on Let's Talk Supply Chain, we've released episode 486 with Ross Hickey of Shipio, and he's talking about supply chain visibility, which huge topic for everyone in this industry, closing the gaps, building future-proof tech stacks, change management, and driving the business value. So this is an episode you are not going to want to miss. All right, let's bring Eric up and jump in to the show.
Hey, Audrey, how are you?
How are you doing?
I am good. Keeping my head above water. Just
yes.
Yeah, lots going on.
A lot going on. And tell us and give a bit of an introduction, even though I'm sure people know who you are and have seen you on a few of the LTSC shows. But
I would never presume. No, I'm my day job is I'm the technology editor at the Journal of Commerce, which is part of S&P Global. But I also do a show on Sarah's Let's Talk Supply Chain Network on second and fourth Friday of every month called TPM Today, where I talk to generally people who are kind of in the tech world or tech adjacent, and we talk about international, domestic transportation, trade compliance, all the stuff that like should matter to people like you.
Exactly. All the people practicing trade and operating in logistics, for sure. Awesome. Let's dive into, tell us a little bit about what's happening in the market. What is going on? Either, logistically, in tech, in trade, what is happening? What's your view?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to escape the T word these days, right? Tariffs are just kind of like, they're not just dominating the way that companies, kind of the people who typically handle things like duties and free trade agreements and all the things that tariffs used to roll under. It used to be kind of this dark corner of a multinational enterprise trying to figure out like what the best way to get goods from point A to point B are. Now it's become like front page news, dinner party topics, people asking. I'm sure you're getting as many questions as I'm getting about like, what does this mean? What does this mean? 50%. Oh my God, does that mean the price of like this is going to go up by 50%? So, I think two things on the logistics side. We have one of my colleagues wrote a couple of weeks ago. We're at the point now where companies kind of played a waited out kind of phase for 2-3 months, waiting to see if things would settle into like a predictable kind of pattern. They haven't. They probably aren't likely to. So now it's like, well, you just have to ship. At some point, you either have a make to order type of supply chain where you don't have a lot of buffer, or your shelves need to be replenished, or you have demand, or you're preparing for the holiday season, or this or that, and the stuff has to move whatever the tariff rate is, right?
Exactly.
And so, and then sorry, my dog is going crazy.
Yeah.
Too much noise.
I get so excited for the show.
Yeah, she gets really riled up by tariffs. I'll just be honest about that. Anytime she hears the word 3 times, it's like Beetlejuice. She goes crazy. So, the other side is, and I just posted something on LinkedIn about this, the unevenness, the sort of lack of coherence about the rollout of some of these announcements is really problematic. And it's not just problematic for an importer to sort of make decisions on, like from a practical standpoint, like uploading 400 HS codes on a Friday evening and expecting people to account for that as quickly as Monday morning is bonkers, actually, in the normal sort of course of things. So I wrote a post maybe a little more provocative than I normally get, but I've been thinking about this for a few months, and it's very clear to me that the goal is not to like make trade more equitable, and it's really to roil it and kind of like figure out what it looks like later after you sort of burned it to the ground in a way, right? Like so. And I hope people are coming to terms with it from that perspective. I see so many posts, like really optimistic, hopeful posts, like, "Hey, we just need a predictable rate to rely upon. Then we can plan around that." It's like, well, maybe that's not coming. Maybe the goal is to kind of keep people guessing for a long period of time until they change their behavior, basically. So,
I think it takes. It's what we usually associate with tech companies. That disruptive is now being applied to, of all things, trade policy, which was not typically a very disrupted, or like trade policy was built over, and some of these free trade agreements took years to put together. And then now, to your point, the conversation is like, oh, on Friday we issued this and on Monday we're enforcing it. You're like, oh, okay. So I think, to the, I was hoping you talk a bit about your post, because to your point as well, it's the people who are in this industry, who then have to stay up all weekend and, don't get time with their kiddos or their puppies or something, because they are deep diving into these tariffs to make sure, that they can update senior management by, Sunday night that, hey, we're good, or this is what we have to do or change over. So that disruptive piece, I think, is key. And then, of course, we all had the wishful thinking when this started of, okay, like there'll be disruption, sure. And then it'll start to like lead to the stability. And we're in August now and still not seeing any consistency or stability. So how do we operate in this, in wild and tumult?
I don't know. I don't envy you. It's
I was going to ask you. I was hoping you'd give me the answer.
It's much more fun to just be responsible for writing about it and like talking to people about it than actually having to like answer. Yeah. Hey, Audrey, what's the tariff rate for this product going to be like tomorrow, much less 3 months from now?
So. Or when your CFO is like, I thought you said if the vessel went out before April 9th, and actually it was April 5th. And so it went between those 2 days, and now we have to pay $125. Audrey, explain how you got that wrong.
Real briefly, I think one real window into the like not understanding how impossible, not even difficult, I would say impossible it is to manage in certain circumstances. The whole transshipment thing, which is driving me crazy as a person who's like grown up in the container shipping industry. Transshipment had a definition. Over the last 3 months, it's had a completely different definition, but more pertinent to like how a logistics manager manages this. The way the regulation is written is the last leg of a journey is the determinant of whether it has beaten a deadline to come in for a higher tariff level or not. The last leg may be a transshipment leg that someone in your position has no control over. Like you work with a forwarder, or you may even work directly with an ocean container line. And you leave it essentially up to them to decide the best route for this container to take. And if they decide they need to transship it at some port, and that happens and it sits for a week, or it misses a sailing, and all of a sudden that last leg happens after the higher tariff level kicks in, that is completely out of your hands. And it's not as if you were trying to skirt something or it's just things that are out of your control. And there's not a ton of sort of concern about that, I would say, in the administration. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Because we could do this whole show. Conversation. Let's move in. Let's do our weekly poll. So LTSC does a weekly poll every Wednesday. And this week we were talking about, is your company actively investing in a more sustainable supply chain? So we've seen regulations come through. 2020, we had the IMO made some changes. In the last year, we've seen CBAM and some other regulations come through in Europe. But overall, the question was, is your company actively investing? So we've got 44% of the poll responders said, yes, we have a solid plan. 31% not a priority right now, which in the face of some other priorities. I completely understand. 24% are saying we're just getting started. 2% had other, and there's maybe some comments down there. I was talking about, yes, we have a solid plan. I think, some of us who work, maybe more in Europe have regulations that we have to meet. And of course, 2030 goals, 2035 goals. We're part of the EcoVadis, which some of you aren't familiar with, but it's a group that does ratings based on the sustainability of, say, your building. And it goes through those scope 1, scope 2, and then scope 3 emissions. And scope 3 is usually what you see in the supply chain with, the transportation and climate. What do you think, Eric? Is this still kind of a hot topic for people you talk to, or is it sort of on the back burner,
I would say
as we have more challenges?
I would say given all of the upheaval that companies are facing in various ways, it's very sporadic. I would say that 3 years ago, it was top of mind for a lot of people. And there was some corporate mandate or investor or consumer mandate that was driving action or, a plan. A lot of that seems to be back burner now. And now it's more, there's certain companies that this is just a core part of what they care about, and they're going to do it, whether it's the trendy thing or not. And there's other companies where they care about it, but not more than they care about some of the other things that they need to worry about right now. And if there's not regulatory pressure on them to do something, they're going to sit on the sidelines for the time being. It's definitely, the urgency around it has definitely feels like it's cooled a little bit. That said, there's still, I talked to obviously a ton of tech companies and a ton of 3PLs and carbon calculators and tools to kind of like maximize dead space in various freight modes is, that's still like a powerful kind of thing to go after, right? Especially if you can say like we're going to reduce your carbon footprint and save money because we're better utilizing a container or a truckload, or we're moving incremental stuff off of air freight into a better mode from a carbon footprint standpoint. So those types of things, I think the other thing is like some of this stuff is now baked in and it's happening and people aren't talking about it as much, but it is happening.
Yes.
So,
it's a bit become normalized. And I would say it's true too. And in this kind of economy, you are looking for optimization. So it could be, that easy step for people to start looking at air freight versus sea freight in terms of cost. But then the sort of benefit of that, or the advantage, is that, as it turns out, that's less carbon too. So there's a secondary advantage that is the focus. But yeah, awesome. Let's dive in. We've got 3 artists to get through, and this is a fast show. So we're going to be talking about Tim Cook was handpicked to lead Apple, and some say it's time for him to go. Now, what I learned is that I didn't realize he was kind of a logistics background. So that was kind of interesting. And the kind of point being made by some of the sort of analysts is that background may be, was maybe practical and useful at the time when he got the gig about 15 years ago, but now might not be taking the company in the right direction. What did you take from this, Eric?
Yeah, no, I did know that his background was in sort of like really honing their supply chain. I think there's some parallels to Dave Clark at Amazon, right? In terms of, someone kind of like sidekick or number 2 that was really focused on making the supply chain super efficient to go along with the like bells and whistles and the shiny objects of the products and in Amazon's case, the marketplace. I don't know. Like, I feel very under-equipped to say whether Tim Cook should be replaced as the most successful company in the planet. As I'm doing the show on an Apple product and I have another Apple product sitting next to me, and I have, it's like, if you ask me, Apple is a very product-driven company. So if the argument is that there's been an over indexing essentially for like supply chain efficiency and not enough like product innovation, sure, I guess you could make that case. I would make the case that it's less about what a person's background is or what their focus is. It's not like if you're CEO of Apple and you care a little bit more about supply chain than product, you like forget about product. Like,
yeah, and there's no one there to say anything.
Yeah, can he not hire a chief product officer and a product innovation team? I'm sure their product innovation team is light years better than all but maybe 2 companies in the world. Yeah. So I guess what these guys are saying is it's a question of priorities. But I'm always going to say, like, if you have a better supply chain, you can overcome whatever little inadequacies there are with product. The other thing is, like, a lot of Apple products are in 2 and 3 horse races. It's not like it's not like where you're a retailer and you're literally competing against 7 billion companies in the world.
Yes.
And you need that like product edge, or maybe conversely, you need the supply chain edge because you can't really differentiate. With Apple, it's like, who else are they competing against? They're competing on the AI stuff a lot, but they're also super. They've made a bunch of innovations around services, right? Like Apple probably takes more from me monthly now in services that don't even need anything to move from point A to point B than they do from the product. Like, I get a phone, essentially paid for by my service provider. Yeah. But the monthly fees for cloud storage and this and that and music or whatever, like, I mean, they're getting that every month, easy peasy. So I think they've adapted pretty decently for how huge they are.
And I think that's the tone of this. The analysts are kind of suggesting that, they've been focused on products, but physical products, right? So they have, this success because Cook has directed them they're in smartwatches, earbuds, the digital services. Right. And I think this is kind of examining the AI, like, oh, they haven't adopted AI that quickly, and that's a software, not a hard product. And so,
but do they need to?
Fine, but or are they doing it in a way that's graduated, right? Because we've seen AI and you're like, okay, but maybe Apple users are getting the benefit of more of a curation of Apple is actually spending the time integrating it and feeding it or kind of leading you to it in a way that's more intuitive or more easy to digest, and then making sure that their tools, it actually does something. Because I think, you for sure have seen it's AI. It'll give me logistics visibility. Like, okay, that's actually not true. Right. So I think there's maybe a seriousness that in their approach that maybe isn't appreciated at a time when there's a lot of hype.
It would be interesting to talk to these people and what their ideal kind of like next step is, because you would argue that Apple's in from a hardware perspective, they have very few competitors, much less peers. If their devices are in the hands of everybody, then that's the conveyance. Like, OpenAI is great, but like you need a physical thing to get OpenAI's product to my eyeballs, right? And my brain, right? And so as long as Apple controls essentially the distribution, which is the things I look at use these products for, the watch, the phone, the AirPods, whatever. That's, to me, I mean, I will say, like, Apple Pay, I use Apple Pay for absolutely everything now. I'd used it in India when I was in India for the last 6 weeks. Yeah. I mean, it's like so ubiquitous now. So to say they haven't innovated is, I think, probably being a little harsh. So.
Yeah. Or that this concept of tech visionary, will change that, because we have some tech visionaries in other areas and we can see, what the progress is. I think it's interesting to have that, that debate, though, the supply chain CEO versus and you're like, well, one is demonstrably delivering. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my takeaway is the supply chain visionary seems a little more like grounded and like even keeled.
Yeah. To some of us, you're like, yes, this seems like a good approach. And other people are like, what? He's not like, he's not visionary. He's not making things up. He's not talking about the impossible. How will we get anything done? Like,
right.
What is our next one? Let's move along here. A weak password. So, and this is, I think we've seen this in a lot of our, peers. We've seen, whether people want to talk about it and admit it or not, there's been a lot of ransomware, and hacking especially in the logistics industry, and it's especially disruptive and damaging. So apparently, in this article from the BBC, it's a UK company. They were able to sort of trace it down, and I think one of the colleagues' passwords was how this hacking group was able to crack into this. They did the whole ransomware thing and give us the money, and this company was like, we can't afford what they were asking for. And so after 158 years in business, this company had to shut their doors. What do you think? What do you see? What are you seeing in this example or other companies, Eric?
It's interesting because I think that the cyber sort of vulnerability has not gone away, but there's a little bit of parallel to the sustainability thing. It's like you get accustomed to a certain level of threat, and after a while, it becomes it goes from 5 alarm to 3 alarm to oh, we know we're being constantly attacked. We know this is an ever-present threat, but now I'm okay with it. Or my brain has dealt with that instead of it being so to me, the story was really all about you have to revisit this on a way more. So first of all, if you don't have the basics in place, that needs to be done yesterday. If you have a cybersecurity defense plan and a recovery plan, it needs to be revisited probably more often than you were expecting to. It's not a yearly thing. It's not even a half yearly thing. It may not even be a quarterly thing. It may be an every month or every week kind of situation. I think one element that I've talked to, especially 3PLs about, is the extent to which you sort of outsource this to a company that's like a home security company. I don't employ armed thugs outside my office, outside my house, and have Dobermans roaming my property. I outsource that to a company that's watching the house, essentially, especially when I'm not there. So that sort of mindset of yes, ultimately you have to be, the buck stops with you as a company, so you have to have some internal resources that can be in control of this. But it's maybe better off to outsource some of this to a company that is literally 24/7. All they are doing is monitoring threats and making sure that your company's plan is aligned with where the threats are at any given moment, because it's incalculable how many different threats there are. It's very easy, especially in the world of AI, iterating things. We always talk about AI. Oh, it's great. You can fail fast and do this and try out a bunch of stuff and generate a bunch of code. And well, the flip side of that, the nefarious side, is hackers can try a million different iterations of bad stuff at any given moment. So you have to be protected in that way. And it's really sad.
Even faster than it was before. And even the impersonation thing is sort of daunting as well, because that was one of the checks and balances that people have is, well, I'll pick up the phone and call, or but now that a lot of us are global companies, you don't know who you were talking to at the end. You didn't know what you didn't know what Sam was like in the UK. You don't know if they're what they sound like, what they look like, who they are. So it'd be very easy to do those impersonations.
I got an email randomly a week ago from a colleague of mine. We're a huge company. We have literally thousands of employees all over the world.
Yeah.
And I got an email from a colleague of mine saying, hey, I'm taking up this work from this employee who had left the company a year ago.
Yeah.
And just wanted to touch base with you to catch up on what it was. And I had no idea who this person was. I'd never seen the name. It was from for some reason, the name was structured weirdly in the email. And I was like, this feels like my IT team testing me with a phishing email. So I didn't respond to it.
Yeah.
There was no button to report it or anything.
Yeah.
But I waited, and then I got back and said, no, I'm actually your colleague. And she followed up later, and now we have a call tomorrow. But I was like, that's kind of the mindset you have to have, is if anything looks off, don't engage.
Yeah.
Probably report it. I probably should have reported it. I felt like it was off.
Forward it up to IT. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just that simple, right? It's like as simple as letting your guard down for half a second sometimes. So.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. But yeah, that prep is key. All right. Thanks for sharing with that. Let's jump to our last one because we're almost out of time, which is amazing how this happens every week.
I agree. Yes.
So we've got we've got Mahjong, which is a board game, is the latest networking opportunity for women entrepreneurs. So Mahjong is a long-standing game from China.
Yep.
And considered like your grandparents, kind of card game.
Oh yeah.
And it's been making
old people used to play Mahjong.
Exactly. All the people who are way older than us. And so it's being rebranded as a trendy social activity for the next generation of Gen Z and millennials. Apparently, according to this article, it's now a $2.6 billion global industry, expected to reach 4 billion by 2032, which is wild. It's showing up in spaces like DJ'd parties in LA and hotels in New York, which means it's cool, I think, for the rest of us who don't live in those places.
I grew up in LA, so yeah, I will take
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So cool. And then it's been fueled. It was in the movie Crazy Rich Asians. It was showcased. So it's not just fun and games though, because now it's become popular among women entrepreneurs as kind of that networking activity. So bringing business to the table, while you're kind of socializing. So what do you think? I mean, there's been, in the history of business, there's been golf has been a huge thing. Sarah's making pickleball happen.
I was just going to say, this has like echoes of pickleball in terms of
right?
like this thing that's just like storming, capturing everybody's attention. So it's super interesting. I think it's great that there's an expansion of like activities that are associated with business. Because honestly, golf, like I don't mind. I like playing golf, but like the ubiquity of golf is like the only universal sport that was connected to business was like it's pretty lame and kind of like we need more. There's so many interesting things to do in the world where you can like connect over business. It's funny, like we've definitely noticed. So my wife does, she makes jewelry, and charm bracelets have been like this crazy fad the last year and a half, 2 years. So she gets tons of orders and she was getting requests in spring, left, right, and center for a Mahjong charm.
Really?
Yeah, and she had to source like a
Mahjong
charm. Yeah, she finally found them, but she can never keep them in stock.
Yeah.
So obviously there's something to this.
There's definitely a drive for that. I love it.
Yeah. So it's
I love it.
It's a real thing. I'm much more in favor. I'm getting on my soapbox here. I'm much more in favor of Mahjong than I am of pickleball. I need to have a debate with Sarah, but I have very strong feelings about pickleball.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
I love tennis.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a zero-sum game between pickleball and tennis.
Interesting. I thought they changed it up just enough that it wasn't quite like tennis. So
it's more that they sort of occupy the same courts.
So I see where the impact is.
Pickleball, the less time tennis courts are available. So they have made some dedicated pickleball courts.
Finally.
Which is great. That's great. Go for it. Get out of my way. Do your thing. As long as you don't take my court. So
yeah. That's a good background. All right, we've got to wrap it up. We're running out of time. So I'm gonna do some of the events that are coming up, which includes Eric. You're up on Friday with your TPM today. So who's your guest?
I have a great guest, Evan Shelley of Truck Parking Club, talking about helping get truck drivers more access to predictable parking spaces and what that means to the broader truckload industry. So super interesting discussion.
I love it. We'll tune in for that. We also have on August 27th, the holiday rush ready, cut costs and deliver faster. So obviously we're all going to tune into that one. August 28th, from prevention to action, how shippers and carriers fight cargo theft together. That's been a big topic on LTSC and for everyone, as it really does have market impact. September 9th, BlackBerry Radar webinar. And then we've got the in-person. Sarah's going to be very busy this fall. Pickleball, as we mentioned, is happening at IANA at September 15th. September 15th is pickleball, but then IANA is the 15th to the 17th. There'll be inland coming up at the end of September. Sarah will be at Visibility Now in November in Paris. If you're there, come and say
I'll be
hi.
there too.
Are you gonna be there too? Oh my
Yes.
gosh, you can say hi to Eric and Sarah in Paris, or I guess you would say bonjour.
Yes.
In November, also at the end, you've got the Women in Supply Chain Forum, which has moved location, so it's going to be in Clearwater, Florida, which means for Sarah, she doesn't have to fly. And then everybody, of course, is all getting ready for Manifest. It's always a hot topic every year. I feel a lot of FOMO because I haven't gone to that one, but February 9th to 11th. So if you are thinking about going, you definitely want to get your hotel and get yourself sorted out for that. Eric, thank you so much for joining. I know you and I could we could chat all day. They should have just done like Thoughts and Coffee Tuesday, and we could have just picked topics.
Long form Thoughts and Coffee.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. And Sarah should be back next week with some more great articles and topics. All right. Have a great day, everyone.